Do you ever feel weighed down by the endless pressure to please others? Constantly worried about what people think or afraid of letting go of things you can't control? Maybe it's a toxic relationship that you just can't seem to walk away from, or that overwhelming anxiety about future outcomes, or even the nagging voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough unless you meet society's expectations. Sound familiar? If you're nodding your head right now, you're not alone, my friend. So many of us get stuck in these cycles of worry, fear, and attachment to things that only bring stress into our lives. But here's the truth. The more you care about the things you can't control, the more power they have over you. What if I told you there's a way to break free from this mental trap? A way to regain your peace of mind, let go of unnecessary burdens, and live life on your own terms? That's where the wisdom of Stoicism comes in. In this video, we're going to dive deep into 10 Stoic principles that will help you master the art of not caring about what doesn't serve you and learning to let go with grace. If you're ready to take back control of your mind, find inner peace, and stop letting the external world dictate your happiness, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Stoics control what's within. When you think about how much of our stress comes from things we can't control, it becomes clear why this Stoic principle is so powerful. Whether it's worrying about whether someone likes us, stressing over how a meeting will go, or fretting about a traffic jam making us late, so much of our mental energy is spent on situations that are completely out of our hands. The core of Stoic wisdom is recognizing that the only things you can control are your own thoughts, reactions, and actions. Everything else, it's beyond your power. And once you truly grasp this concept, you can start letting go of the anxiety that comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. Imagine for a moment that you're preparing for an important job interview. You've done everything in your power to prepare, studied the company, rehearsed your answers, and picked out your best outfit. But as the interview approaches, you start worrying about whether the interviewer will like you, whether the other candidates are better, or whether you'll stumble over a question. Here's where the Stoic mindset kicks in. You can't control the interviewer's mood, the other candidate's qualifications, or any unexpected question that may arise. The only thing within your control is how you perform in that moment. How well you've prepared, how calmly you respond, and how focused you stay are all that matter. This shift in perspective is liberating. It allows you to let go of the external pressures and focus on what you can control, your own effort. By internalizing this, you'll not only reduce stress but also find that you approach situations with a clearer mind and more confidence. You stop wasting mental energy on what could go wrong and instead focus on what you can do right now. This principle can be applied to almost every area of life. Consider relationships. How often do we get caught up in worrying about how someone feels about us, or whether they will act in the way we want them to? The Stoic approach would say that while you can't control how someone else feels or acts, you can control how you respond to their behavior. Instead of getting upset or frustrated when things don't go your way, you can choose to remain calm and centered, knowing that you've done what you can within your control. Even in everyday situations, this principle holds true. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, late for an important meeting. You feel your stress levels rising and you start to panic. But stop for a second and ask yourself, can you control the traffic? Can you control the time? But you can control how you react to the situation. You can either let it ruin your day, or you can take a deep breath, accept the situation as it is, and do the best you can with the time you have. Maybe you use the time to mentally prepare for the meeting or call ahead to explain your situation. Either way, you focus on what's within your power. By consistently reminding yourself to control only what is within your reach, your thoughts, actions, and attitudes, you'll find that you not only reduce stress, but also cultivate a deeper sense of peace. You stop being a victim of external circumstances and instead become the master of your own mind and life. In the end, controlling what's within is not about ignoring the world or pretending that external factors don't affect you. It's about accepting that you can't control those external factors and that by focusing on your own actions, you empower yourself. This shift in mindset is key to living a Stoic life, one where you're not easily thrown off balance by the unpredictable nature of the world. It's a life of inner calm, strength, and resilience. Stoics embrace the present. The present moment is all we truly have, yet it's the one thing most of us take for granted. How often do you find yourself daydreaming about the future, worrying about something that hasn't happened yet, or replaying past mistakes in your head? These distractions pull us away from fully experiencing life as it is happening. The Stoics taught that embracing the present is essential for a fulfilling and peaceful life. Consider a typical day in your life. You're at work, but instead of focusing on the task in front of you, your mind is wandering, thinking about an argument you had with a friend, planning what you'll do after work, or stressing about a deadline next week. While all of these thoughts may seem important, none of them are happening right now. The Stoics would argue that your power lies in this present moment. By focusing on the task at hand and giving it your full attention, not only do you become more productive, but you also free yourself from the mental clutter that causes stress and anxiety. Embracing the present also means letting go of past regrets and future worries. Take a personal relationship as an example. You may be holding on to hurt from a past argument, or be anxious about where the relationship is headed. These thoughts create emotional baggage, clouding your interactions and preventing you from fully enjoying the time you spend with the person in the present. The Stoic approach would be to let go of these past and future concerns and focus instead on the current moment. Are you enjoying the conversation? Are you engaged with the person in front of you? When you learn to stay present, your relationships become richer and your mind becomes calmer. This isn't to say that Stoics ignore the future or never reflect on the past. Planning for the future is important, and learning from past mistakes is valuable. But the Stoics emphasize that these should be done without sacrificing your presence in the here and now. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote about how fleeting life is and how important it is to live each moment fully, without being consumed by things outside of your immediate control. One of the best ways to embrace the present is through mindfulness. This doesn't mean you have to sit down and meditate for hours, but simply becoming more aware of your surroundings, your thoughts, and your actions in the moment can make a world of difference. When you're eating, focus on the taste of your food. When you're listening to someone speak, give them your full attention. When you're working, dedicate yourself completely to the task at hand. By embracing the present, you'll find that life becomes less overwhelming. You're no longer burdened by the weight of the past or the uncertainty of the future. Instead, you're fully engaged with the only thing you can truly experience, the now. And in doing so, you'll discover that the present moment is enough. Stoics accept change. We all want stability in life. We get comfortable in our routines, relationships, jobs, and homes. So when something changes unexpectedly, it feels like the ground is shaking beneath us. However, the reality is that life is constantly changing. Nothing stays the same forever, and Stoicism teaches us that instead of resisting this fact, we should accept it. Imagine for a moment that you've been in a long-term relationship. Everything seems stable and predictable and you feel secure. But one day out of nowhere, your partner says they want to end the relationship. Immediately you feel panic, anger, sadness, and confusion. You resist the change. Why did this happen? How can I fix this? Things were fine yesterday. But no matter how hard you fight it, the reality is that the change has already occurred. The Stoic approach to this situation would be to accept that life is full of changes, some good, some painful. By accepting that change is a natural part of life, you start to understand that resisting it only brings more suffering. When you accept the reality of a breakup, you open the door to healing, growth, and eventually, moving on. Instead of clinging to what was, you begin to focus on what can be. Stoics viewed life as a river, constantly flowing. If you try to hold on to the water and stop the flow, you'll only cause yourself frustration. But if you learn to move with the current, you'll find that you can navigate the changes in life much more smoothly. This isn't to say that change is always easy. Losing a loved one, getting laid off from a job, or experiencing a major health issue are incredibly difficult. But resisting these changes, wishing they weren't happening, doesn't stop them from being real. On a smaller scale, accepting change also applies to everyday situations. Imagine you've planned a fun weekend, but the weather takes a turn for the worse, and now your outdoor plans are canceled. Your first reaction might be disappointment or frustration, but the Stoic way would remind you that you cannot control the weather. You cannot control external circumstances. The only thing you can control is how you respond. Instead of letting the canceled plans ruin your weekend, you can adapt and find another way to enjoy your time. Accepting change is about more than just coping with disruptions in life. It's about recognizing that life is change. Seasons change, people change, circumstances change, and we too are constantly changing. Once you embrace this truth, you stop fighting against the natural flow of life. You learn to move with it instead of against it, which brings a sense of peace and resilience. By accepting change, you also become more adaptable. When something unexpected happens, you're able to pivot without breaking down. You've mentally prepared yourself for the reality that nothing stays the same forever, so when things shift, you adjust accordingly. This flexibility allows you to handle life's ups and downs with grace. The Stoics would remind us that impermanence is part of life's beauty. Things that stay the same forever become stagnant. It's through change that we grow, evolve, and experience new aspects of life. By accepting and even embracing change, you become stronger and more resilient, ready to face whatever life throws your way. Stoics detach from external validation. In today's world, we're surrounded by social media likes, follows, and shares. It's so easy to get caught up in seeking approval from others. We start to judge our worth based on how many people like our photos, comment on our posts, or compliment us in person. But Stoicism teaches us that external validation is fleeting and ultimately outside of our control. The only validation that truly matters is the validation that comes from within. Let's take social media as a prime example. You post a picture or an update, and then you find yourself constantly refreshing the page to see how many likes it gets. If it gets a lot of engagement, you feel great. But if it doesn't, you start to doubt yourself. Did I say something wrong? Am I not interesting enough? This constant need for validation from others creates a roller coaster of emotions where your self-worth is tied to external opinions. The Stoics would say that this is a recipe for unhappiness because you're placing your value in something you can't control, other people's reactions. Instead, the Stoics teach that true fulfillment comes from internal validation. Ask yourself, did I do my best? Am I proud of my efforts? Does this align with my values? If the answer to these questions is yes, then that's all the validation you need. Whether someone else approves or not becomes irrelevant. Your worth is not dependent on the fluctuating opinions of others, but on your own internal compass. Consider how this principle plays out in other areas of life. At work, you might put in extra hours on a project hoping that your boss will recognize your efforts. But when they don't, you feel deflated. Why didn't they notice? Why am I not being appreciated? While it's natural to want recognition, Stoicism teaches that you should focus on your own satisfaction with the work, not on the praise you hope to receive. Did you do the best job you could? Did you meet your own standards? If so, that's what truly matters. Detaching from external validation doesn't mean that you ignore feedback or become indifferent to others. It means that you stop letting their opinions define your self-worth. You still care about your relationships and the people in your life, but you don't need their approval to feel good about yourself. You base your confidence on your actions, your values, and your integrity, not on how others perceive you. Think about the freedom this brings. When you stop chasing external validation, you stop comparing yourself to others. You stop feeling the pressure to constantly prove yourself. You start living in a way that's true to you, not in a way that's designed to impress or please others. This doesn't mean you become selfish or self-centered. It means that you become grounded in who you are. The Stoics understood that external opinions are fickle and often based on factors beyond our control. Someone might dislike you for reasons that have nothing to do with you. Their judgment might be based on their own insecurities, biases, or misunderstandings. Why let that determine your self-worth? By detaching from the need for external approval, You reclaim your personal power. You live by your own standards, and that is where true contentment lies. In the end, detaching from external validation allows you to live authentically. You stop being a people pleaser and start being true to yourself. You build confidence that isn't swayed by the ever-changing opinions of others, and this inner strength makes you more resilient and at peace with yourself. Stoics recognize life's natural cycles. Life moves in cycles. There are times of growth and times of stagnation, times of happiness and times of sorrow. The Stoics believed that understanding and accepting these natural cycles is essential for inner peace. We often want to hold on to the good times and resist the bad, but life doesn't work that way. Everything is temporary, and everything is part of a larger cycle. Consider nature as an example. The seasons change. Winter turns to spring. Summer gives way to fall. We don't try to stop winter from coming, no matter how much we might prefer the warmth of summer. In the same way, life has its seasons. There are moments when everything seems to be going well, and then there are moments when we face challenges or hardships. The Stoics would remind us that just as we accept the changing seasons, we should accept the cycles of life. Let's say you're going through a tough time right now. Maybe you've lost your job or a relationship has ended. It feels like winter, cold and bleak, and it's tempting to believe that things will never get better. But the Stoics would encourage you to remember that life is cyclical. Just as winter eventually turns to spring, this difficult period will pass, and new opportunities will arise. The key is to endure the winter with grace, knowing that it's a natural part of life's cycle. Similarly, during the good times, it's important to remember that they too are part of a cycle. It's easy to get caught up in happiness and believe that it will last forever. But the Stoics warn against this kind of attachment. Enjoy the good times, but don't cling to them. Understand that they are just one part of the larger cycle of life. This perspective helps you remain grounded and prepared for the inevitable changes that life brings. By recognizing life's natural cycles, you develop a sense of calm and resilience. You stop fighting against the flow of life and instead move with it. You understand that everything, both the highs and the lows, is temporary, and this acceptance brings peace. You're no longer caught off guard by life's changes because you've come to expect them as part of the natural order. In the end, recognizing life's cycles allows you to approach both the good and bad with equanimity. You enjoy the good without becoming attached to it, and you endure the bad knowing that it, too, will pass. This balance is at the heart of Stoic wisdom and is key to living a life of inner peace and stability. Stoics seek growth in adversity. Adversity is something we all encounter in life. Whether it's a personal loss, financial struggle, or emotional hardship, challenges are inevitable. The Stoics, however, saw adversity not as something to fear, but as an opportunity for growth. In their view, difficult moments are the testing ground where our character is forged and strengthened. This perspective is not only empowering but deeply practical. Imagine a situation where you've just lost your job. The immediate reaction is often one of fear, anxiety, or even anger. Why did this happen to me? You might ask. But what if, instead of seeing this as a devastating blow, you saw it as an opportunity? Stoics would encourage you to view this loss as a moment to reflect, reassess, and ultimately grow. The loss of a job might push you to develop new skills, explore different career paths, or even start a business. While the challenge is real and painful, it can also be the very catalyst for personal and professional growth. This is what the Stoics referred to as the art of turning obstacles into opportunities. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the very things that block our path are what help us grow. Instead of viewing obstacles as insurmountable problems, Stoicism encourages us to see them as stepping stones to becoming stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Let's take a more relatable, everyday example. Think about a time when you faced a difficult conflict with a friend or family member. It's easy to get caught up in the frustration, replaying the argument in your mind, and wishing things had gone differently. But the Stoic approach would be to ask, what can I learn from this? How can this disagreement help me grow? Perhaps the conflict exposed an area where you need to develop more patience, better communication skills, or emotional self-control. Instead of seeing the conflict as purely negative, you can use it as an opportunity to improve your relationships and yourself. Adversity can also help us build emotional resilience. When you face a tough situation, whether it's a breakup, the loss of a loved one, or a financial setback, you have a choice in how you respond. Stoicism teaches that while we cannot control external events, we can control our reactions to them. By embracing adversity as a natural part of life, you stop seeing it as something to avoid at all costs and start seeing it as a necessary part of your personal evolution. Consider how athletes train for competitions. They intentionally push their bodies through discomfort and pain because they know that growth only happens when they challenge themselves. The same applies to life's emotional and mental challenges. It's through adversity that we build the muscles of resilience, patience, and strength. If we shy away from difficulties, we miss out on the opportunity to develop these essential traits. Furthermore, seeking growth in adversity also means letting go of a victim mentality. When life gets hard, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, "Why me?" But Stoicism encourages us to shift this perspective. Instead of seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances, you start to see yourself as an active participant in your own growth. The challenges you face are not happening to you. They are happening for you, to help you become a stronger, more capable version of yourself. Stoicism teaches that adversity is not something to fear, but something to embrace. When we face difficult times, we are given the chance to grow, to develop inner strength, and to refine our character. It's in the fire of adversity that we are tempered, like metal being forged into something stronger and more resilient. So, the next time life throws a challenge your way, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What can I learn from this?" In doing so, you'll begin to see adversity not as a setback, but as a stepping stone to greater growth and wisdom. Stoics cultivate inner riches. In a world where success is often measured by external achievements, money, status, possessions, the Stoics took a different approach. They believed that true wealth lies within, and that cultivating inner riches is far more valuable than chasing material success. Stoicism teaches us to prioritize the qualities of the mind and soul over external accolades, because those inner riches are what lead to a truly fulfilling life. Think about how many people chase after material success, working long hours, sacrificing relationships, and stressing about accumulating wealth or status. Yet how many of those people are truly happy? You might know someone who has a great job, a nice house, and all the external markers of success, but inside, they feel empty. Stoics would argue that this is because true contentment comes from cultivating virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline, things that cannot be bought or measured by external standards. Let's say you've just received a promotion at work. You've worked hard for it, and it feels great to be recognized for your efforts. But Stoicism would encourage you to take a step back and ask yourself, is this promotion making me a better person? Or is it simply adding to my list of external achievements? Cultivating inner riches means focusing on how your work, relationships, and daily life contribute to your growth as a person. Are you becoming more patient, more compassionate, more self-aware? These inner qualities are the real markers of success in Stoic philosophy. One way to cultivate inner riches is through the practice of gratitude. Instead of constantly striving for more money, more success, more recognition, Stoicism teaches us to appreciate what we already have. This doesn't mean you shouldn't have ambitions or goals, but it does mean that you should find contentment in the present moment, regardless of whether you achieve those external goals. When you cultivate gratitude, you start to realize that you already have enough. You stop chasing after the next big thing and begin to appreciate the richness of your current life, your relationships, your health, your experiences, and your growth as a person. Another way to cultivate inner riches is by developing self-discipline. Stoicism places a high value on self-mastery, the ability to control your desires, impulses, and reactions. When you cultivate self-discipline, you become the master of your own life. You're no longer swayed by fleeting desires or external pressures. Instead, you make choices based on what aligns with your values and long-term goals. This inner strength is far more valuable than any material possession because it gives you the freedom to live life on your own terms. Let's consider a common situation. Temptation. You're trying to save money, but you walk past a store and see something you really want to buy. It's easy to give in to the impulse and make the purchase, but Stoicism teaches us that true wealth comes from mastering our desires. In this moment, cultivating inner riches means exercising self-control. By resisting the temptation to spend money on things you don't need, you're building inner strength and aligning yourself with the Stoic value of moderation. At its core, cultivating inner riches is about prioritizing what truly matters. While external success can bring temporary satisfaction, it's the inner qualities, wisdom, self-discipline, gratitude, and kindness that lead to lasting fulfillment. These are the things that cannot be taken away from you, regardless of your circumstances. Whether you're rich or poor, successful or struggling, you can always cultivate these inner riches. By focusing on inner growth rather than external achievements, you free yourself from the constant chase for more. You stop measuring your worth by how much money you have, how many followers you've gained, or how much praise you receive from others. Instead, you begin to value yourself for who you are, not what you have. And that, according to the Stoics, is the true meaning of wealth. Stoics understand and accept fate. One of the core ideas in Stoic philosophy is amor fati, the love of fate. This concept encourages us to not only accept what happens in life, but to embrace it as something necessary and beneficial for our growth, regardless of how difficult it might be. Stoicism teaches that everything in life happens for a reason, even the things we wish had gone differently. Imagine this. You've just experienced a major setback, perhaps a breakup or a failed business venture. Your initial reaction might be to resist, to wish things had turned out differently, or to dwell on how unfair the situation feels. But the Stoic approach would ask you to pause and consider, what if this event is not only unavoidable but also necessary for your personal growth? What if this painful experience is a crucial part of your journey, one that will ultimately make you stronger and wiser? This idea can be incredibly empowering. Instead of feeling like life is happening to you, you begin to see that life is happening for you. Stoicism encourages us to understand that everything we experience is part of a greater plan, even if we can't see it at the moment. When you adopt this mindset, you start to let go of frustration and regret. You stop fighting against the current of life and instead begin to flow with it, trusting that whatever happens is meant to be. Take another common example, losing a job. It's natural to feel upset or anxious in this situation, but Stoicism teaches us to accept that some things are simply out of our control. Instead of dwelling on the loss, you might ask yourself, what opportunities does this open up for me? Perhaps losing your job is the push you needed to explore a new career path, develop a side business, or spend more time with loved ones. When you understand and accept fate, you see that even setbacks can lead to growth and new possibilities. The Stoics also remind us that we cannot change the past or control the future. The only thing we have power over is the present moment. By accepting fate, we release ourselves from the mental burden of worrying about what could have been or what might happen. This doesn't mean we become passive or complacent, quite the opposite. Stoics believe in taking action and striving for excellence, but they do so with the understanding that some outcomes are beyond their control. They trust that whatever happens is aligned with the greater good, even if it's not immediately clear how. One powerful way to practice amor fati is through reframing your perspective. Instead of seeing challenges or misfortunes as setbacks, you begin to see them as part of the path. Let's say you've been planning a big event for months, and at the last minute, something goes wrong. Maybe it's bad weather, or the venue falls through. A Stoic would accept the situation as it is and ask, "What can I learn from this? How can I make the best of it?" This shift in perspective transforms what could have been a source of frustration into an opportunity for creativity, flexibility, and growth. On a deeper level, understanding and accepting fate is about cultivating inner peace. When you stop resisting what is, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. Think about how much stress and anxiety come from wishing things were different, whether it's your job, your relationships, or even your health. Stoicism teaches us that much of this suffering is self-imposed. The more we resist reality, the more we suffer. But when we learn to accept things as they are, we begin to experience a sense of calm and equanimity, even in difficult times. This doesn't mean that Stoics are indifferent to life's challenges or that they don't feel pain. On the contrary, Stoics fully acknowledge the hardships and emotions that come with being human. The difference is that they don't let these challenges define them. They accept that life is full of ups and downs, but they remain grounded in the belief that every experience has a purpose. This deep trust in the flow of life allows them to navigate challenges with grace and resilience. In essence, Stoicism teaches us to let go of the need for control and certainty. Life is unpredictable, and we can't always know why things happen the way they do. But by understanding and accepting fate, we free ourselves from the mental anguish of resistance. We learn to embrace whatever comes our way, trusting that it's all part of a larger plan, one that is ultimately for our growth and well-being. Stoics are of service. One of the most fundamental principles of Stoicism is the idea of service. Stoics believe that we are all part of a larger community, and that our purpose in life is not solely to seek personal happiness or success, but to contribute to the greater good. This principle teaches us to shift our focus from "what can I get from life" to "how can I serve others?" Think about a time when you helped someone without expecting anything in return. Maybe you volunteered, offered support to a friend, or did something kind for a stranger. How did it make you feel? Chances are, it brought you a sense of fulfillment and purpose that material possessions or personal achievements never could. That's because, as human beings, we are wired for connection and contribution. Stoicism teaches that true happiness comes not from self-centered pursuits, but from being of service to others. In a practical sense, being of service can take many forms. It could mean helping a coworker who's struggling with a project, volunteering your time for a cause you care about, or simply being there for a friend in need. Stoicism encourages us to see every interaction as an opportunity to serve. When we approach life this way, we stop seeing people as obstacles or competitors and start seeing them as fellow travelers on the same journey. We begin to ask, how can I add value to this person's life? Being of service also means recognizing that we have a responsibility to contribute to the well-being of the larger community. In today's fast-paced, individualistic society, it's easy to get caught up in the pursuit of personal goals, whether it's advancing your career, building wealth, or achieving personal milestones. But Stoicism reminds us that true fulfillment comes from giving back. Whether it's through acts of kindness, mentorship, or simply being a source of positivity in the lives of those around us, service is a key part of living a meaningful life. One powerful aspect of being of service is that it helps us put our own problems into perspective. When you're focused solely on your own challenges, it's easy to feel overwhelmed or stuck. But when you shift your attention to helping others, you begin to realize that everyone is struggling in their own way. Your problems don't disappear, but they become more manageable because you've expanded your focus beyond yourself. Let's say you're going through a tough time. Maybe you're dealing with stress at work or facing a personal challenge. Instead of withdrawing into your own worries, what if you decided to help someone else? Maybe you check in on a friend who's going through a difficult time, or you volunteer at a local charity. This act of service not only helps others, but also gives you a sense of purpose and perspective. You realize that, despite your own struggles, you still have the power to make a positive impact. Another key aspect of Stoic service is humility. Stoicism teaches us that we are all interconnected, and no one is above or below another. This humility allows us to serve others without seeking recognition or reward. In fact, the best acts of service are often those that go unnoticed. When you help someone simply because it's the right thing to do, without expecting anything in return, you align yourself with the Stoic ideal of selfless service. At its core, being of service is about recognizing that we are all part of a larger whole. Stoicism teaches that we are like individual threads in a vast tapestry. Each of us plays a vital role in the fabric of society. When we focus on serving others, we strengthen not only our own character but also the entire community. And in doing so, we find a deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment than we ever could through self-centered pursuits. Stoics Reflect. Reflection is one of the cornerstones of Stoic practice. The Stoics believed in the power of self-examination as a daily habit, often through journaling or quiet contemplation, to help them stay aligned with their principles and navigate life's challenges. In today's fast-paced world, it can be easy to rush through life without pausing to reflect on where we're headed, what we've learned, or how we're growing. But for the Stoics, reflection is essential for personal development, self-awareness, and inner peace. Imagine the typical day where you are constantly busy, working, running errands, engaging in conversations, and making decisions. You're reacting to everything that happens, but rarely do you stop to reflect on why you're making the choices you're making, how those choices align with your values, or what lessons you've learned from your experiences. When you take the time to reflect, however, you create a space to step back and assess whether you're living in accordance with your core beliefs and values. For instance, let's say you're reflecting at the end of the day. You might ask yourself, how did I handle the challenges I faced today? Did I let anger or frustration get the best of me? Was I patient with others? Did I stay focused on what's within my control, or did I waste energy worrying about things I can't change? These types of questions help you become more aware of your behavior and mindset, giving you the opportunity to adjust and improve moving forward. Reflection isn't about criticizing yourself, it's about learning and growing. In the modern context, the practice of reflection can be incredibly relatable. For many people, life feels like a constant cycle of action without pause. We move from one task to the next, dealing with responsibilities, challenges, and distractions. But Stoic reflection asks us to break that cycle, even if only for a few minutes each day, to evaluate our actions, intentions, and overall direction in life. This habit of self-reflection helps us become more intentional with our time, relationships, and decisions, making sure we're not drifting aimlessly, but are actively working toward personal growth. One way to incorporate Stoic reflection into your life is by keeping a journal, as famous Stoics like Marcus Aurelius did. In his meditations, Aurelius wrote about his struggles, his insights, and his aspirations, offering a window into the process of reflection that helped him lead with wisdom and integrity. Journaling allows you to process your thoughts and feelings, identify patterns in your behavior, and clarify your goals and values. It's a way of holding yourself accountable to the principles you believe in. Consider a situation where you've had a difficult conversation with a colleague or a loved one. Without reflection, you might walk away feeling frustrated or defensive, replaying the conversation in your head and feeling justified in your actions. But when you take time to reflect, you might begin to see the situation from a different perspective. Perhaps you notice that your response was driven by pride or fear, rather than by a desire to resolve the issue calmly and compassionately. This realization can lead you to handle future conversations more mindfully and constructively. Another important aspect of Stoic reflection is reviewing your progress toward your long-term goals. The Stoics believed in the importance of living in alignment with your values and virtues, but they also recognized that this requires constant effort. Regular reflection helps you stay on track, reminding you of the bigger picture, and ensuring that your daily actions are moving you closer to your ideals. Without this practice, it's easy to get lost in the demands of daily life and lose sight of what truly matters. For example, let's say you value kindness and patience, but you've noticed that you often become irritated or impatient in stressful situations. Through reflection, you can begin to understand what triggers these reactions and develop strategies to respond more calmly in the future. You might reflect on how you could approach stressful situations differently, perhaps by practicing deep breathing or reminding yourself to focus on what's within your control. Over time, these small adjustments help you become more patient and resilient. Reflection is also a powerful tool for dealing with adversity. When we face challenges or setbacks, it's easy to feel discouraged or overwhelmed. But by reflecting on the situation, we can find meaning in our struggles and identify opportunities for growth. Instead of seeing a failure as a personal defeat, we can ask ourselves, what can I learn from this experience? How can I become stronger because of it? This shift in perspective allows us to view obstacles not as barriers, but as stepping stones on the path to personal development. Another important benefit of reflection is that it cultivates gratitude. When you take time to reflect on your day, you begin to notice the small moments of joy, kindness, or progress that might otherwise go unnoticed. Maybe you had a meaningful conversation with a friend, made progress on a project, or simply enjoyed a quiet moment with a cup of coffee. By reflecting on these positive experiences, you cultivate a sense of gratitude and contentment, even in the midst of life's challenges. In essence, Stoic reflection is about living a thoughtful and intentional life. It's about taking the time to pause, evaluate, and learn from your experiences so that you can continue to grow and improve. It's a practice that helps you stay grounded in your values, resilient in the face of challenges, and focused on what truly matters. Whether through journaling, meditation, or simply a few moments of quiet contemplation, reflection allows you to live with greater clarity, purpose, and inner peace. As we've explored these Stoic principles, it becomes clear that true freedom isn't about controlling everything around us. It's about mastering ourselves. The art of not caring and letting go starts with understanding what's within our control and what isn't. By focusing on what we can change, our thoughts, our reactions, our decisions, we free ourselves from the endless cycle of anxiety and frustration. Stoics teach us to live fully in the present, embracing change and accepting the natural cycles of life. Letting go of external validation, detaching from the opinions of others, and accepting life's unpredictable nature allows us to cultivate inner peace. Whether we're dealing with adversity, striving for growth, or reflecting on our own purpose, Stoicism reminds us that peace comes from within, not from the ever-changing world outside. Remember, my friend, when you master these principles, you're not giving up on life or becoming indifferent. You're freeing yourself from unnecessary burdens. You're building resilience, strengthening your character, and gaining the emotional clarity needed to face life's challenges with calm and confidence. As you continue to practice these teachings, you'll find that the more you let go of things that don't matter, the more room you create for what truly does: growth, purpose, and inner peace. So take these Stoic lessons with you, reflect on them daily, and start applying them to your life. The power to live freely and peacefully is already within you. You just need to unlock it. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and until next time, stay strong, stay stoic, and let go of what doesn't serve you.